Let's zoom in on the financial disaster that is Thornton Township. Because even though Tiffany Henyard was pushed out, the wreckage she left behind didn't magically disappear. If you thought the corruption stopped when she lost her grip on power, you couldn't be more wrong. The numbers are sitting there in black and white, and they don't just raise eyebrows. They scream trouble. The deeper you dig, the more twisted and ugly it all becomes. Now, take the trustees, Mary Avant, Chris Gonzalez, Valeria Stubbs, and Byron Stanley. On paper, their salaries are locked in at $14,710 a year each. Sounds harmless, right? But quick peek at the township's official salary schedule exposes a lie. Only Chris Gonzalez should be making that figure, because he's in his second term. The others, they're all first-term trustees. Their salaries should be capped at $11,195. Instead, each one is pocketing an extra $3,515 without a shred of explanation. Individually, it might not sound like much, but stack those mistakes together, and suddenly taxpayers are bleeding over $10,000 every single year. That's your money being handed out like party favors, with no justification, no approval, and absolutely zero accountability. These aren't minor accounting errors. They're deliberate overpayments being swept under the rug, while the township carries on as if it's business as usual. And then we get to Robert Hunt, the so-called finance director of Thornton Township. Somehow, this man has survived not one, but two corrupt regimes, Tiffany Henyard and Frank Zuccarelli. Through every scandal, every headline, every resignation, Hunt has managed to stay glued to his chair. And for what? To collect a cushy $116,455 salary year after year. That's six figures. Yet when pressed about next year's budget, he had nothing. Instead of doing his actual job, Hunt dodged the question entirely, tossing the responsibility over to Clerk Casey Nesbitt like a hot potato. Think about that. The finance director, the man being paid six figures to oversee the township's money, refused to talk about the budget. So, again, what is he being paid for? Because whatever it isn't transparency, it isn't honesty, and it sure as hell isn't service to the taxpayers. Now, let's put Clerk Casey Nesbitt under the spotlight. She's not just a clerk. She also doubles as the FOIA officer. That means she controls access to public records, deciding what residents and reporters actually get to see. For her role, she makes $17,825 a year, claiming it matches the township's official salary schedule. But here's the kicker. When asked for proof, the only page she turned over was her own salary. One page. Nothing else. That's not accountability. That's a cover-up. Next, meet Highway Commissioner Antoine Russell. According to the salary schedule, a first-term commissioner should be pulling in $17,825 a year. But Russell's paycheck tells a different story. He's raking in $27,519 annually. That's a massive $10,000 difference, and it's not some clerical mistake. It's intentional. Either the rules are being completely ignored, or someone is rewriting them in the shadows. And the public? They've been left blind to all of it. Now we shift to Assessor Cassandra Stahn. She's pulling in $53,716 per year. At first glance, her numbers don't set off the same alarms as the others. But in a township that's rotten with financial red flags, even the numbers that look normal deserve a second look. Because when you have this much smoke, you better believe there's fire, and nothing, not even Stahn's salary, can be assumed to be clean. And then there's Heath Price, longtime manager of Thornton Township's food pantry. If you've tracked this saga, you know his name. Price was once one of Henyard's loyal foot soldiers. Now, he's quiet. His public profile has all but disappeared. But don't think that means he's out of the game. He's still making $72,219 a year to run a food pantry. That's more than some department heads in major cities. These days, Price doesn't have to bark orders or defend Henyard on camera. He doesn't need to fight for relevance. The system Tiffany built is still paying him comfortably and consistently. Whether he's still orbiting around her or not, the cash is flowing and he's eating just fine. While the residents struggle, while the township drowns in dysfunction, he's living off the remnants of her empire. So, what's the big picture here? Tiffany Henyard might be gone, but the dysfunction is alive and thriving. In fact, her removal only exposed how deep the rot actually runs. It's easy to treat her like the villain, and yes, she brought plenty of chaos on herself. But this isn't a one-woman scandal. Thornton Township's financial mess is systemic. It's structural. It's ongoing. As the old saying goes, follow the money. And right now, that trail leads straight through inflated salaries, fake pay raises, and cozy jobs no one dares question, which is why all eyes should be on one moment. Tuesday, July 22nd at 5 p.m. That's when the next public hearing goes down. And this time, the township's proposed budgets will be on full display. No more excuses. No more hiding. Just cold, hard numbers. They're about to dig into the general fund, the general assistance fund, the road and bridge fund. And here's the truth. These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. These are the accounts that keep your neighborhood running. The lights, the roads, the safety nets. So if you live nearby, get in that room. And if you don't, stream it online. Budget meetings might not trend on Twitter, but this is where the real power games are played, and the public has to keep watching. But hold on, because there's a twist. Remember the campaign to slide Napoleon Harris into office? The rallies, the loud chants, the flashy headlines. Tiffany Henyard even cried that she and her crew were locked out of one of those events. People rolled their eyes. They thought Tiffany was just being Tiffany, dramatic, self-centered, making it all about her again. But here's the kicker, the stunt worked. Now Napoleon Harris sits in the seat of power. And guess what? He's cashing in big. His township salary alone clears $200,000. Add ducking basic questions. A community left in the dark, still asking the one question that matters. Where's our money? And even more than that, who's finally going to be held accountable? If you've stuck with me this far, take this as your call to action. Hit that like button. Subscribe. But more importantly, stay awake. Stay informed. Because this was never just about Tiffany Henyard losing her seat. This is about an entire system that allowed this rot to grow and is still feeding it right now. Until that changes, nothing else will. And let's shut down the excuses. To anyone framing this as an anti-black woman attack, stop. This isn't about race. It isn't about gender. It's about power and the people who abuse it. If you're mismanaging taxpayer funds, lying to residents, and treating a township like your personal ATM, you deserve to be called out. Period. Full stop. And as for the person bold enough to thank Tiffany Henyard after all this, step forward. Say it louder. Let the people hear you, because you sound ridiculous. At the end of the day, this isn't about politics. It's about trust. Public trust. And right now, Thornton Township has nearly burned through every last ounce of it.